is full of great mysteries. Mysteries that the internet was more or less created to debate because, if we weren't debating with perfect strangers about things that we questioned in life, what would really be the point of life? Thank goodness we have the internet. Well, today, here on the Spectra Creative Channel, we're going to jump into one of the greatest toy mysteries of all time. And no, we're not going to talk about how my cat just got so darn cute. I mean, look at that face. And we're not going to tackle the big ones like, who built the pyramids, because, we all know it was aliens. Anyone who watched that Futurama episode can tell you that. No, today we're going to circle back to the Wonder Bread or Savage He-Man figure from the early 80s and try to, actually, I think solve this one. We're going to figure out, we all know why he's called the Wonder Bread He-Man, and we'll recap that. And, he's a figure that showed up in the Classics line as a subscription-only figure. He was our first subscription-only figure. And he was kind of decked out in how a lot of people remember him, having the black Zodak armor, and then we gave him a black Zodak gun and black sword, and, made him an official character in the Masters of the Universe canon, even calling him Wondar, which was a nod to the fact that a lot of fans called him the Wonder Bread He-Man. And yes, I'm really glad that Wonder Bread wasn't upset by this, but I guess, they don't own the word Wondar, spelled with a U. And then that goes back to the original toy. Was he even wearing that black armor? Did he even exist? Was he made by Mattel? Well, sometimes to solve one case, you have to solve another. And sometimes evidence comes around in very unexpected ways. And, there's new evidence. New evidence has come to light that I think clarifies exactly who this figure is, how he was made, how he was distributed. And for once, we can finally solve this case and talk about the story of how I was wrong. Yep, my last conclusion in the Wondar video was that this was a bootleg figure. I concluded that it was a figure from the 80s, probably made by a vendor who just cranked some out in different colors. They had access to the He-Man tooling, and when Masters of the Universe was popular, they just cranked a bunch of these out and sold them. That was my conclusion. As to why he showed up in this baggie with an offer for buy 3, get 1 free, my conclusion was, why would he come with the offer if he's supposed to be the result of the offer? So that doesn't seem like a conclusion at all, right? I mean, when you get the figure, you don't get the offer with the figure. And some people remember him specifically having all of these weapons and, again, Zodak's black armor, yet other images show him without this armor. And, I think the new evidence kind of explains all of this and casts light on why fans remember him having the armor and why he maybe didn't come with the armor, as well as the number of accessories he had, which, again, can differ from 2 all the way up to 6, and exactly who the heck this figure is supposed to be. All right, so first let's just check off the obvious stuff. The weapons that are often associated with this character were absolutely released with Man-E-Faces. He had 2 releases, and his second one included a free Weapons Inside burst. And those weapons, those sort of dark red, light purple, maroonish weapons, which were repaints of weapons that came with Castle Grayskull, are often associated with this character. They were sort of, they were extra weapons that were laying around, and people tended to, I don't know who had this figure, I guess, gave him these weapons, and it sort of became part of pop culture that these weapons came with this figure. We know as a fact they came with Man-E-Faces. I mean, that's, clear, and there's, obviously photographic evidence showing that. And the same thing with the black Zodak gun and the black Zodak armor. There's a source for that too, and it's, obvious that, it came in the weapons pack. This is the vintage weapons pack that came out early in the line, and there is ye old Zodak armor offered in black. So all you had to do was take this weapons pack, take the Man-E-Faces weapons, And bim bam boom, you now have all of the items that were assumed to come with the Savage He-Man, or Wondar. Call him what you will. We called him Wondar because, again, we want to legitimize him as a character. So the new evidence definitely points out that the armor and all these weapons did not come with this figure. These were things that were added to him afterwards by people who had him. But that begs to differ, well, okay, but how did they get him? How in the world did they get this figure? If he didn't come with all of these accessories because they came with man-faces, what did he come with? And again, more importantly, how in the world did people acquire this figure? So what it looks like is most of the evidence previously has pointed that the figure just came with 2 weapons. The fact that they were in the same color as the Man-Faces weapons was why a lot of people gave him the extra ones or associated all of those Man-Faces weapons with him. Now the other area is, and I've talked about this in the previous Wondar video, is the link of how he was supposed to be a Wonder Bread promotion. Mattel did a lot of promotions back in the day with different companies. And they most definitely did a promotion with Wonder Bread, but it was definitely not for this figure. What Mattel did do with Wonder Bread was a promotion for trading cards, and this fan created card back. This is just a fan creation. This is not an actual toy. Shows a reprint of that ad for Wonder Bread, where if you bought Wonder Bread, you could mail away for free Masters of the Universe cards. And they included figures from later in the line, like Hordak, if you will, characters that were not out in '83 when the Savage He-Man Wondar was supposed to have made his debut. So we know this promo had nothing to do with it and came way, way later in the line. You can even see Eternia, which was at the very tail end of the line, and the Bone Throne and all of those kind of things. So cool trading cards and great, and it was definitely done with Wonder Bread, but it had nothing to do with the figure. So to get to the new evidence, we need to first talk about the 2009 art book. This was offered at San Diego Comic-Con and contained a look at the origins of the line and the future of the line. And I was heavily involved in it, and that's actually part of what I need to talk about to discuss the new evidence. So this book contained all sorts of images, some that had never been seen before, some that had been, were widely known, some that a few fans had. They ranged from prototypes to artwork to concept stories to prelim designs, basically anything we had that we could fill the art book with. And we even did a display case showing even more items that couldn't make it into the book, and this is actually where the Fighting Foeman storyline draft was shown. It was on the 3rd shelf down in this display case, and that's when that was shown publicly. So, all right. I talked a lot about how I worked on Masters of the Universe Classics from home, almost in a joking way. Obviously, this is not my house. It's just a metaphor for a house in the middle of nowhere. And I'm not saying this to, give myself above and beyond credit. The reason I established this is because when Jason Horowitz, Tim Kilbin, and David Voss, who were management at Mattel, said that they wanted to do an art book on He-Man for San Diego Comic-Con to celebrate the designers at Mattel, I said, great, that's awesome. I love the idea that we're going to do an art book. And then I said, so who's going to put this art book together? And they basically looked at each other and said, well, we were kind of thinking you would do it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to work on an art book now on top of everything else I'm doing. But the thing is, I absolutely love Masters of the Universe, and honestly, getting the chance to do something like this was amazing, and I did jump at it, even though it was, way above and beyond. It was, challenge accepted. Okay, you want an art book? All right, we'll make you guys an art book. And that meant I was going to have to spend a lot of time digging through the Mattel archives and looking for anything I could that was in Mattel's possession that I could use to fill the art book with. And that would include memos and drawings and pictures of sculpts and, basically literally anything. And I went through a lot of boxes. I would basically come in on Saturdays and go through the boxes, and my hands would just be covered in so much dust. My day-to-day job was running the DC Universe Classics line, and that was what took up all of my time during the day. So in order to do this, I needed to be able to go through some of all of these documents, and I got permission to photocopy anything that was not labeled confidential. So top brass said, yeah, absolutely. For the sake of doing this book, if you need to work on it from home, we get it. Permission granted. So fast forward to now, and I'm cleaning up after our move to North Carolina from Los Angeles, and I find the box of material that I was using for this book. So I had, basically forgotten a lot about this, and just flipping through it, seeing if there was anything interesting, because most of it was not. And I found this letter from the VP of marketing to a Barb Hackenberg. And the letter basically said that the president of Mattel had referred a letter down to him as director of marketing, and that he understood that she was upset about a special edition He-Man figure that she got, and her kids were not happy about it. And then I was like, man, I don't remember seeing this. Like I said, I went through tons of paperwork, and 90% of it was useless for the art book. But then I flipped this over, and then I saw a response where it was basically from Ray Wagner, the president of Mattel, to Mark, the VP of design, essentially saying, yeah, this is a valid point. We should have specified this figure was not a special edition. Can we please send her a free figure? Then I flipped it over, and I saw the actual letter, and I started reading it. So I'm going to read it out loud here. Dear Mr. Wagner, that's Ray Wagner, president of Mattel, I recently took advantage of your buy 3, get 1 free offer on the Masters of the Universe figures. I must say it was a very disappointing experience, not only for myself, but my son and nephews too. We were expecting was a complete person with equipment, and for that reason, we made sure not to buy any duplicate figures, so that any one which we received would be all right. Between the boys, I now have the Castle, Battle Cat, Merman, Skeletor, Beastman, Zodak, He-Man, Man-at-Arms. I imagine their dismay, and with the figure they received. They asked, who was it? I explained that he was a special edition He-Man. Next question, where's his force field garment and weapons? I suggested they use the ones out of the castle, and they said maybe I could buy them. Their next suggestion, flipping over the page here, pairing him with the right color. These kids are not interested in playing with the toy, not saving it because it is a special edition. I feel the company was trying to get off cheap at the kids' expense. Either the offer should have stated it would be a special edition, or a true figure should have been sent. These kids have sent in for Star Wars and G.I. Joe offers and always received what was expected. I know that I will think about any other Mattel offers before I choose what toy I should buy. Sincerely, Barb Hackenberg. Okay, I can't believe I didn't see this letter earlier. It had basically been sitting in this box of badly photocopied documents that I was, allowed to make for the sake of working on the book. But wow, is this a huge new ball of wax? Like, there were some really interesting information in here. So, first off, this letter is clearly, and from the date, 1983, that it's noted, it was referring to this offer, the buy 3, get 1 free Masters of the Universe offer that ran in quite a lot of, a lot of magazines, a lot of newspapers, et cetera, et cetera. And, it was done, I was clearly a 1983 promotion. All of the ads only feature figures from the original rollout. So, it didn't feature characters from later on, so you knew it was an early promotion. And it corresponds exactly with the buy 3, get 1 free poster, or, fold out that was included with this figure. So looking at kind of the key words in this letter, basically calling the figure they received a special edition, saying that, this figure was clearly like a special version of He-Man, that it was not the regular He-Man, but it was He-Man in a different deco that made him special. That, that's what special edition figures were referred to back then. And it wasn't just that she referred to him as a special edition, and receiving this special edition from the mail-in offer, specifically the buy one, get one free offer, and definitively connecting this figure to that offer. But she also, in her letter, after calling it a special edition He-Man specifically, so we know the figure was He-Man in a different deco, but questions where his force field garments were and where all of his weapons. So we know he had no armor and didn't come with a lot of weapons. So 3 huge facts. We know it was a repaint of He-Man, had no armor, and had very few weapons. Well, that's pretty good evidence, all pointing to the fact that she's talking about the Wonder Bread He-Man. The whole armor with the force field thing comes from the original mini-comics and the original storyline that the armor generated He-Man's force field. So obviously the figure did not come with that armor. It only came with a sword, and he was basically just, naked except for his boots and his furry shorts, and was a repaint of He-Man. There's really only 2 figures in the entire line that are repaints of He-Man, and it's this character and Faker, and it's obviously not Faker. So what is going on? Well, it seems to me from this letter that it is absolutely describing this figure, that it says it's it's He-Man in special edition colors with no force field armor and no accessories, or very few weapons. Well, to me, I don't know, to me this is kind of the most definitive proof we have to date that this Wonder Bread He-Man indeed was made by Mattel, and it was released specifically for this offer from 1983. Not a bootleg, not a foreign release, but an actual legitimate toy from Mattel that was sent out. Have we solved this? I think we have. I think major steps, and this letter really proves conclusively the origins of Wondar, the Savage He-Man. After years and years of debate on the internet and TV shows, the answer is finally upon us. If you like this video and would like to see more videos like it, let me know. Give it a like. Give it a subscription. That tells YouTube to share this with more people. It'd be great to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.